Hello, friends. Welcome once again to Champion Wealth Creators YouTube channel. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Amit Grover, who is a national lead training head of HDFC Asset Management Company Limited. Let me give a small introduction about Mr. Amit. Amit has conducted 1,200 sessions across Pan India on various financial subjects, including behavioral finance, equity investment, fixed income, behavioral finance, international markets, whatnot. Fine. And he is with the company for the last many years, 8 years. Priorly, he was heading the IDFC and DSPMF training division. And he is a mechanical graduate by profession. He is a CFA level 3 candidate, and he comes with wonderful experience, and pleasure to have you, Mr. Amit.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for inviting us.
So today I would like to have a interactive session with you. And as you know,
Sure.
our markets have been doing really well thanks to the domestic investors, where the SIP book size is more than 13,000 crore on a month-on-month basis, 13,500
Yes.
crore, and it is doing uh, exceptionally well. So today I would like to talk about something important about importance of SIP investing and how it can help investors to plan their financial independence.
You rightly said the SIP
Yes,
wave
sir.
has started, and I would still
Yeah.
say it started. There is a long way to go. But 13,000
Yeah.
crores is a good number. The idea is very interesting. One would say SIP is such a simple concept. You have to invest on a monthly basis. But this SIP, which is a simple concept, is very difficult to put it in real practice. I will give you a very simple and a very interesting example first. What is the power of SIP? There was a very interesting experiment done on kids. It was called a
Mhm.
marshmallow experiment on small kids like 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old kids. A very sweet thing, which is called as marshmallow, was kept in front of them. And these kids were told, wait for 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes, you will get two marshmallow. So
Mhm.
logically, rationally, all the kids should have waited for 15 minutes and they should have taken those two marshmallows. Logically, that makes sense. But
Correct.
unfortunately, 70% of the kids were not able to wait for 15 minutes.
Oh.
This clearly shows that when the temptation that after 15 minutes you will get two, and you might just think, what, this experiment, this happens
Yes.
only with kids. No, it happens with all of us on a daily basis.
Yes.
Let's imagine it's your first job and you
Yeah.
got a salary. Your friends are going for a vacation, buying new clothes. There is amazing discounts on various apps, and you will get amazing stuff. That marshmallow experiment is working on your brain. You will say, what, savings
Yeah.
investments will happen. Let me enjoy right now. And then this
Instant
20s will get
gratification.
over, you'll get into 30s, instant gratification will come. And then again, this idea, the same idea, that what, let me spend on my marriage right now, let me buy a car right now, let me go for a vacation right now. So practically that marshmallow experiment is happening on a daily basis. And it's not that it happens with kids or somebody in their 20s or 30s or 40s. That marshmallow experiment keeps on happening as long as we are alive, because instant gratification is something which inherently we are born with. So that's difficult.
Yes.
And
Correct.
that's why SIP comes into picture, because we are
Yeah.
smart, we are intelligent, we have got all the qualifications and everything. But you know what, the problem of majority of us is that discipline is the most important thing.
Not.
A lot of
Yes.
investors know that saving and investment on a regular basis is important. Very difficult to do it in real life. And we know about
Yeah.
gym membership, that what, in the beginning of the year everybody enrolls for a gym membership, goes for 15 days, and the gym membership is just there. The idea is, we all know saving and investment is important, but bringing that discipline is very extremely important. The first and the foremost benefit of SIP predominantly is to bring the idea of forced saving. It forcefully takes the
Mm.
money. It's not asking
Correct.
you that should I invest or not. It forcefully takes the money, which is very important. So if you earn
Okay.
100 rupees, it will forcefully take 50 rupees or 60 rupees, depending upon amount which you are comfortable with. Very, very important. So that's the
Yes.
first advantage which I believe SIP is important. It's not just systematic investment plan. For me, it's a
Yeah.
simple investment plan.
Very well put. Very well put. Wonderful. And as you know, most of them do ad hoc investing, but I have been advocating goal-based SIP investing because, as you know, you can do SIP in equity, debt, international equity, a plethora of products depending on their risk profile and their asset allocation. So, how important it is tagging goal to SIP investing?
A very brilliant question. Ideally, a lot of people just randomly invest. They just buy a
Correct.
few stocks or few mutual funds and they just start SIPs without knowing the real purpose for the goals, their SIPs or their investments. This is a fundamental flaw of investing. It's like when you start driving, you can't just say, you know what, I don't know where I'm driving, I'm just driving. It doesn't work that way. The first thing
Yeah.
is in any financial planning, you have to define your goals. It can be your short term goals, it can be your medium term goals, it can be your long term goals. The definition of goals are very, very important. Like short term goal can be like your children's annual fees or going for a vacation.
Yeah.
A medium term goal can be like buying a house. Or a long term goal can be your children's higher education. And most
Correct.
important, most important long term goal is retirement. Because most of
Yeah.
us, whether we like it or dislike it, someday we will have to retire. Okay,
Correct.
let's say we retire at the age of 50, 55, or 60. We'll have a 20, 30 years of retired life. So basically, defining your goals are important. And then investing, keeping a goal in mind is extremely important. Because what happens based on the goal, uh, the discipline is there. You can work on the maths. For example, right now I'm 40. I'm assuming that I'll retire at the age of 60. I know I've got 20 years to work. This is my probable salary. This will be my retired life. So I know this is a particular goal. I have to save and invest for this particular goal, and I will be investing this amount. Goal based planning is extremely important because it brings discipline into your entire investing. Because without goal, it becomes very haphazard.
Yeah.
And we have also seen with experience that people, when they start a goal and they know this investment is for a particular goal, they stay with the goal,
Yes.
they stick to a particular investment because when you do goal based planning, the idea of endurance increases in the entire journey
Yeah.
of wealth creation.
Yeah. Correct. Correct. Wonderfully put. And as you rightly you pointed out, retirement is one goal where most of us have not planned, and there is no social security also for most of the Indians because we are in the private sector and own businesses and other things. So, how important it is to plan for retirement, and can you throw some light on how to efficiently plan for retirement for somebody who is 30 years, 40 years, or differently? So that
Sounds
because
good.
the lifespan is also increasing, and it is also
Yes.
important that they need to plan for the spouse. And as there is a
Yes.
old saying that your children is not your retirement fund and your parents is not your emergency fund. So how important
Absolutely.
it is to plan for retirement? Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me just start with a very basic thought. You know what? A human brain is not designed to think beyond 5 years. And that's why at the age
Okay.
of 50, okay, because it's very difficult for somebody to think about retirement at the age of 30, 35, 40. Okay, they think a lot of people think I'm going to retire right now. No worries. So what happens since you think about retirement at a very late age, uh, it's not a great idea. And you rightly said the human lifespans are only increasing. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad
Yeah.
thing. If you have planned for it, it's a very good thing. We might live till the age of 85, 90, okay, and even 90 plus. Now imagine a lot of our clients retiring at the age of 50, 55, 60, and having a 25, 30 years of retired
Yeah.
life.
Correct.
Now add two things to it. First is inflation. Okay, whether we like it or dislike it, inflation was there, is there, and will always be there. That's
Going to be there.
first.
Yeah.
And second thing is lifestyle inflation, which is called as increase in standard of living. Today we
Yeah.
all have a AC or washing machine, and they have become our necessities. Slowly and
Correct.
gradually, what happens? Our standard of living is increasing, and it's very difficult to put a reverse gear in a standard of living. Plus, the
Yeah.
medical costs are also increasing. Now, unlike the West, we don't get any support system. We don't get any benefits from the government in terms of pensions or health benefits or unemployment benefits or any kind of benefits. We have to take care of our entire retirement. 25, 30 years of retired life. And you rightly said, this is a different generation. The value systems are changing. Yes, it is good to take care of the children, their education, but be financially dependent on them is not a great idea. One should take ownership of it. One should actually plan their retirement planning. And I personally believe when you're doing goal-based planning, retirement planning should be the first goal when you are doing the entire planning, because that's like a ticking time bomb for you.
Yeah, true. Very well put. And some of the investors, especially when they have money, they also are not used to the idea of STP, and they always take have a difference between lump sum or SIP, which one to do. And somehow, some people have a tendency, even though if they have a bank account, they don't want to commit SIP. What could be the psychological barrier? Can you explain
Sure.
how they can overcome on that?
Sure, perfectly fine. You know what? People think, and they always keep on asking us, which is better? SIP is better or lump sum is better? And my answer is very simple. Don't compare SIP versus lump sum. It is never SIP versus lump sum. It is SIP and lump sum.
And
I'll
lump
give you
sum,
my
correct.
personal example over here. See, I work with
Okay.
HDFC Mutual Fund and I get a basic salary on a monthly basis. So let's say I earn 100 rupees per month, 50 rupees is my expense, 50 rupees goes as SIP, and that goes as a discipline. Now, let's say in a year, based on my performance, if I get a bonus from my company or some incentive from my company, now that money I put as lump sum. So what happens? My regular monthly income goes as SIP, and whatever lump sum amount I get in between, which are my income, I put this as lump sum. So basically, for me, SIP is a lump sum on a monthly basis, and when I get bigger amount of money, I put as lump sum. A lot of investors, we know that their source of income is varying every month. They can
Yeah.
start with a base SIP which they are comfortable and ready to commit on a monthly basis, and whenever they get income in between, like let's say if you're a business person, you get maybe like let's say a 50,000 or a 1 lakh or 2 lakh in between, based on the way your business is working, those amount of money can actually be invested along with SIPs in lump sum. So it's not SIP versus lump sum, it is both SIP
Yeah.
versus lump sum.
And lump sum.
Now coming to
Yeah.
the idea of STPs, which is a very interesting idea. And this is more of a psychological thing. You know what? Markets have always been anxious. Market always makes us
Yeah.
gives us anxiety because the world was uncertain, is uncertain, and will always be uncertain. Now, what
Correct.
happens? Let's say you have, I'm just giving a hypothetical example. Let's say you have to invest 10 lakh rupees. Okay. 10 lakh rupees might be a very big amount for somebody, a very small amount for somebody, and a very moderate amount for someone, because everybody's
Yeah.
income and portfolios are quite different. Let's say
Yes.
for somebody, 10 lakhs is a very big amount and he wants to invest this 10 lakh rupees. Now, psychologically, he's feeling anxious. If I put all this money right now, is it a good time, bad time? That psychological warfare is happening in his mind or his brain.
Yes.
So what you
Yeah.
can do in this case, you can park this money into a debt fund, and then instead of putting entire 10 lakh rupees at one go, that investor can do an STP, which is called as a systematic transfer plan, from typically a debt fund to an equity fund. Now, what should be the tenure of that STP? Depends from client to client. It can be like 1 year, 6 months, 2 years. It depends upon how he wants to allocate this money. There is no
Yeah.
hard and fast rule to that. It all depends upon how anxious you are. Some people who are
Yes.
more anxious would like to do an STP for 2 years. For somebody, it's 1 year. For somebody, it's 6 months. So there's no hard wired science that it should be like
Yes.
for this particular period. It all depends upon client to client, because personal finance is more personal and less of finance. It is
Less
more
of
of a
us.
psychological thing than
Yeah.
a mathematical thing.
Very well put. And most of the new investors in the last 1 year, the market is volatile due to various factors. But it is very important that they stay invested for equity for a longer term. So, what is the ideal term in an equity SIP would you advise to investor, especially the retail investor in the teenage or 20 to 25 years?
Right. You know what? Whether it's retail investor, whether it's a teenager or anyone else, you know what is equity? Okay, let's put it in very simple words.
Yeah,
Equity means investing into businesses. My
correct.
simple humble request is just go and talk to a businessman and ask him or ask her, what is your time horizon for the business? And he would say perpetual, as long as
Yes.
possible. So that's how you create wealth. Now, the idea is if a business where you're investing his time horizon or her time horizon is perpetual, why are
Yeah.
you giving a time horizon of 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year? Ask your mother
Yeah.
or your parents when they bought gold, what was their time horizon? They would say for as long as possible. Or when you buy real estate, what is your time horizon? You will talk about decades, not years. The idea
Yes.
is the only way to create wealth in equity is to give time to your money. Because what happens, the entire journey of equity market is always volatile. If you look at history, market has been volatile. Even
Yeah.
currently, markets are volatile, and markets will continue to remain volatile.
We won't.
But the interesting thing point is, market has given return, is giving return, and will always give return.
Continue to give render. Yeah.
The only way to make amazing returns from a long-term perspective and to beat inflation by a big margin is to give time horizon. So when you are doing your SIP, obviously it's an adjective which is called as long-term, and people can have different definitions to it. For me, it's a very simple thing. Think in decades. Start from 10 years, 20 years. That's how you create wealth. 10 years bare minimum. If you can make it 20, 30 years, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Oh, very well put. Yeah, it was very great listening to you. Any final comments would you like to share to my investors?
See,
My
the only
advice.
thing
Yeah.
is, as human beings, we get attracted towards complex ideas.
Yeah.
We think simple is very boring. In
Yeah.
fact, when I tell my lot of friends that I do SIPs, they say, Amit, it's very boring. They'll talk about something very interesting. Then why did you study it so hard? Why did you do your engineering, MBA, and CFA if you had to do SIP? And my logic is very simple, that simple things actually are the most
Yeah.
powerful things.
Perfect
Complex
things.
things don't are they just sound interesting, but they don't create wealth for you. So for
Correct.
me, investing on a monthly basis, SIP, investing into a diversified fund like a flexi cap, multi cap. So obviously
Yeah.
the beauty is there are many
Yeah.
funds, various categories, and that's where
Correct.
a mutual fund distributor becomes extremely important to help you pick and choose a right amount of SIP. And SIP doesn't mean equity. You can also do SIP
Yeah.
in gold also. You can do it in
Yeah.
silver. You can do it in international markets. You can do it in debt funds
Yes.
also. So
Correct.
SIP doesn't mean
Yeah.
only equity. So the idea is
Yeah.
very simple. Keep your investments as simple as possible, as boring as possible, and keep your time horizons as long as possible. So be very active in life, but be
Yes.
very passive with your investments. That's the mantra which I can just tell all
Ah,
my uh,
very well put.
investors and clients who are listening to us.
Yeah, great. Great to have you in this live show, Mr. Amit Grover, and look forward to meet you again in the coming days. And wishing you great success in your training, and look forward to meet you when you are in Chennai.
Thanks for giving us an opportunity. I'm sure, and I'm very glad that you helped us connect with your clients, and I hope they learn one or two things which we have gathered over last 2 decades. Thank you.